Welcome to our summer garden. Let's begin with all the harvests we made this month. Starting with apples. We are growing many varieties of apples. We have our Anna apple tree. This is in the ground. Beautiful looking apples, very delicious as well. And then we have our N. Shemmer apple. Different variety, produces really well in Southern California. But the best one that we have is our 4-in-1 apple tree, which has 4 varieties grafted onto a single rootstock. You can see here we are harvesting the Anna apple. That's one of the grafts on this tree. Very crunchy, very delicious apples. And they ripen around summer. It's a perfect time to pick them. And these are the Dorset golden apples. This is actually my favorite apple variety here for the Southern California weather. It produces really delicious apples that also look very nice. And once you've harvested all the apples, it's now time for the tree to set out new growth for the next year. So this is a time when you need to make sure that you add a good fertilizer for your apple tree, a high nitrogen fertilizer, so that way you can get even more fruits next year. Banana bud or the banana flower. Now once the banana plant sets fruit, the bud or the flower just stays there and you can now harvest the banana bud, and the flowers are absolutely delicious. You can harvest the individual flowers and use them in a variety of dishes, and they taste absolutely delicious. Blackberries. We are growing our blackberry plant in this container here. It's a huge container, and at the bottom you can see that we have used the green stalk spinner, something that I've used for every container that we have here. And you can look at the blackberries here. Beautiful looking blackberries, quite big in size and very juicy and delicious too. And this blackberry variety grows as a bush. It doesn't really have a vine, so it's much easier to manage. You just prune the branches once a year and you're good to experience fruits the next year. And unlike the vining type blackberries, this blackberry actually produces new shoots and then produces berries on those new shoots. So it's a pretty unique thing for this blackberry variety. And you can look at our harvest here, beautiful looking blackberries. Bottle gourds. We were growing our bottle gourds in the raised bed, and you can see how big this bottle gourd is. Quite good looking bottle gourd, and also it's a pretty heavy bottle gourd here. And there were so many bottle gourds that were growing during this month that we started off with one bottle gourd, and there are still plenty of bottle gourds on these plants. There are multiple plants here. And in just a few days, you can see we are harvesting a few more bottle gourds. Now it's important to harvest bottle gourds in time. Otherwise, they'll become hard and fibrous. And you can look at these 2 bottle gourds we harvested. And it's been a very hot month here. You can see our dog Tesla taking a nap here in the shade of this trellis. And some more bottle gourds being harvested here. Beautiful looking bottle gourds, as you can see. And this one is a little too late, but we'll see. If we can't use it, we'll save it for seeds. And you can look at our bottle gourd harvest here. Beautiful looking bottle gourds. Cucumbers. We were growing multiple cucumber varieties. This is the Puneri cucumber or the Puna Khira. One of my favorite varieties to grow. Very crunchy, very delicious cucumbers. Very much unlike the green cucumber. This has a much more pleasant taste. It's great for snacking and eating raw. And there are a few more Puneri cucumbers we are harvesting. The Puneri cucumber or the Puna Khira is one of the better cucumber varieties to grow. They are very prolific. They give you excellent tasting cucumbers. And they're also very unique. Just look at these cucumbers. They look so beautiful. And these are amazing for snacking and juicing. And we also had some other varieties of cucumber. This is the bush cucumber variety. And it produces a lot of cucumbers, as you can see here. We harvested a lot of these cucumbers from our cucumber bush area. Now the bush cucumber is also very nice. It is known for its smaller vining habit. However, I found that this bush cucumber that I had extremely long vines. It also grew in a much more prolific way than I thought. And you can look at our bush cucumbers harvest here. Beautiful looking cucumbers. And there are still a lot more cucumbers to go. This is our cucumber patch. As you can see, multiple varieties here. we grew the puneri, we grew the straight 8, we grew the white wonder, we also grew the Korean cucumbers. So a lot of cucumber varieties that we grew here. And we're harvesting a variety of cucumbers here from our cucumber patch. This is on our raised bed. We dedicated a whole area for growing cucumbers this year because we love eating cucumbers. This is the white wonder cucumber, another beautiful cucumber variety, very similar to the Puneri cucumber or the Puna khira. Puna actually was the older name of Pune, which is where the cucumber name came from. And just look at our harvest here. Beautiful varieties of cucumber, just looks amazing. Now we were also growing the bird-plus cucumber, and this was growing in a container. Now the bird-plus cucumber produces long cucumbers. It's a pretty big plant, and they claim that when you eat these cucumbers you don't burp, and that's why this got its name as bird-plus cucumber. And we were back in our raised bed to harvest the Korean cucumbers. The Korean cucumbers are very unique because they grow like regular cucumbers and then they turn into this really dark color. And we had a few of these Korean cucumbers growing. And just look at our harvest of the Korean cucumbers here. Beautiful looking cucumbers. And this is how it looks like from the inside after it's cut. They're gorgeous. A little bit of seeds, but they look amazing. Eggplants. This is the Black Beauty eggplant that was growing in a container. And this was one of the first eggplant varieties that we planted in our garden. And you can look at the eggplants, they're quite big. And this is our second one, beautiful looking eggplant again. And we also had this Indian eggplant variety growing in a container. This is the striped variety, as you can see here. Again, beautiful looking eggplant, and look at the harvest here. This is a lot of eggplant for just a small space. Fenugreek greens. We were growing our fenugreek greens in a basket. Yes, this is just a basket with holes. We just added some potting mix and kept it in the shade. Fenugreek doesn't like a lot of direct sun, and it's become really hot here in Southern California. So to be able to grow fenugreek greens in this weather is quite challenging. However, we love eating fenugreek, so we had to grow it this month. And due to the holes in the basket, due to the natural air pruning that happens, or the root pruning that happens, you can see that the fenugreek greens have grown quite well. And look at our harvest here, beautiful looking fenugreek greens, and you can look up some really good recipes on how to use fenugreek in your kitchen. Figs. We had our mission fig tree that was producing a lot of figs. And I did give a fruit tour of all my fruit trees in the previous episode. If you haven't watched that episode, please do check it out. It has all my recommended fruit trees. The mission fig being one of them. We just love this fig variety. It's amazing in taste. If you want the classic fig taste, you have to get the mission fig. This is one of the best tasting figs. And just look at our harvest here. Beautiful looking figs from just this tree in a container. Hyacinth beans. So this is the bush type hyacinth bean, and this is growing in a container. We actually thought it was a vining type and put the trellis, but it was not needed. The bush type hyacinth beans just produces its beans on stalks like these. And this is the vining type hyacinth bean. This is also in a container, and you can see how large this plant can become. And compared to the bush variety, this does produce a lot of hyacinth beans, just because it spans over such a large area. And we are harvesting these hyacinth beans here. Lots of hyacinth beans on this plant. The hyacinth bean is one bean variety that you must cook before eating. You can look at our first harvest here. So all in all, great looking hyacinth beans, very nice and very fresh. Moving on to ivy gourd. Due to the heavy rains we had, we lost some ivy gourd plants, but this is one of the survivors. And just look at how many ivy gourds it's producing. This is the long type ivy gourd. There are two varieties of ivy gourd. One is the longer type that you see here, and there's also a shorter type. Both are really good varieties to grow. And you can see how prolific this ivy gourd plant gets in July. So July and August are the peak production months for ivy gourd. Last year they had started in June because we had a warmer summer. This year June was really cold for a summer month. But July is nice and hot, and you can see beautiful looking ivy gourds being harvested here. Nectarines and nectar plums. Let's look at the nectar plum first. This is the Spice Z nectar plum. These basically are nectarines, but they taste like plums. They have a hint of a plum taste. And sometimes these fruits will spoil on the plant. So you need to keep checking. If it's spoiled, you need to discard them. But as soon as the fruit is slightly soft, you should harvest them. Otherwise, you will have problems like birds eating them or June bugs or Japanese beetles eating them. They're just prone to a lot of problems. But late July, these nectar plums will ripen and you can start harvesting these nectar plums. And just look at how many nectar plums this tree has. Due to the amount of fruits this has, the tree has actually bent over. The branches have literally fallen to the ground. And this is what happens when you have a lot of fruit. We had a great winter this year. A great winter means more chill hours and more fruit production. The nectar plum still produces almost every year here in Southern California. But due to the increased chill hours, you can see an abundance of fruits here. Just an amazing quantity of fruit. So you can keep harvesting, keep eating them. If you leave too many on the plant, you're going to invite predators, birds, June beetles, etc. So make sure you check the nectar plums every day and harvest what you need. And these are nectarines. This is growing on a dwarf tree. You can see here beautiful looking nectarines. And it's the same problem with nectarines. You need to make sure that you harvest them at the right time. I don't spray anything on my nectarines, so they are not as pretty as the ones you get in the store. But they are 100% organic, beautiful looking nectarines, very nice tasting nectarines. And since this is a dwarf plant, this will not grow to a big size, but it does produce a lot of nectarines as you can see here. And this is growing in a container. And just look at our nectarine harvest here, beautiful looking nectarines. Potato onions. Now this is a very unique type of onion that actually grows in a bunching fashion. So you just plant one onion and it bunches into 4 or 5 onions as you see here. So what you do is you harvest all the onions and then you can keep the onion sets for planting in the next fall, which is exactly what we'll be doing, is harvesting these onions and keeping them. And this is the beauty about these bunching onions, is that you plant just one onion, get a lot of onions, and then just repeat the process all over again to get a lot of onions. And after harvesting, what we will do is we will keep some of these onions for using right away. These are the ones that we'll be using right away. These are usually the fresh ones that don't have a lot of leaves on them, the top leaves. So we'll just cut them off, cut off the roots at the bottom, and these can be used right away. And then for the rest of the onions, what we will do is we will group them, we will bunch them up, tie them, and then keep them in a cool place for curing for a longer time. And what this will do is let us use these onions for a longer time. They will cure slowly, and we will replant some of these onions back in the fall so that they can grow into a new crop of onions. You can look at our harvest here, beautiful looking potato onions, and I'm really happy with the harvest. Peppers. Our highlight of the month was peppers, beginning with cayenne peppers that you see here. Cayenne peppers are relatively hot peppers. However, none of our peppers were really hot this year for some reason. This is the giant Marconi pepper. This is a sweet bell pepper. It's one of the best looking peppers as well. So you can stuff this pepper, you can even grill it, you can even chop it up and make curries. You can use it in a lot of ways, and this is a very prolific plant growing in a container. We have 2 plants growing in a container. It produced a lot of peppers. We are harvesting each one of these giant Marconi peppers. And I'm very impressed with this pepper variety. We grew it last year as well with some great results. And even this year, just look at how many peppers it produces. This is a harvest, beautiful looking peppers, and there are many more on the plant. Moving on to bell peppers, we have our bell peppers growing everywhere this season. This is the one on the raised bed. This is the California Wonder bell pepper. And here's another one. So on the raised beds, the bell peppers grew okay, not great, but we still got a few bell peppers from the bell peppers on our raised bed. And here are a few more. These are also on the raised bed. And the best bell peppers that we got was from a bell pepper plant in a container. Just look at how many bell peppers this small plant has. This plant has a lot of peppers. All of them are really good looking peppers. And this was also one of the earlier bell pepper plants that we planted. And just look at how many bell peppers are on this plant. Just beautiful looking bell peppers. And bell peppers grow very well in the summer season. They love the heat of the summer season. And if you are having challenges growing bell pepper, one thing that really helps bell peppers is fermented worm tea. And I buy mine from Vermistera. They're amazing. The quality is really good. And what this does is it helps the plant uptake all the nutrients from the soil. So even if your soil has nutrients, the plant still needs to uptake the nutrients, which is what this does. And you can look at our harvest here, beautiful looking bell peppers. Plums. We started our plum harvest by just picking the plums that had fallen to the ground. That's a sign that they are ripening. And you can see how many plums are there on this tree. This tree was loaded with plums. This is the beauty plum, very similar to the Santa Rosa plum, but a little more adapted to the Southern California weather and to coastal areas. And it produces a huge abundance of fruit, as you can see here. And we just bought this tree, so it's not been too long. So it's nice to see this plant being so prolific in the earlier years. And we were back for another round of harvest. Now you can either harvest the plums when they are firm, if you like that taste, or you can wait till they are fully ripe when they are more juicy. So it just depends on your personal preference on how you like to eat your plums. We personally harvest at any time. It doesn't really matter. We enjoy eating all these plums. Just look at how beautiful these plums are. And finally, towards the end of the month, you can see that there are very few plums left on the tree. So this is going to be our final harvest. So we started harvesting in June and we continued harvesting till end of July. And just look at our final harvest here. Again, gorgeous looking plums. Pluots. Probably one of my favorite fruits this month was pluots. Pluots are amazing. They are firm, they are delicious, and they are absolutely sweet. And we are growing 3 varieties of pluot on this tree. And I did mention pluots in my fruit tree tour as well. Here you can see the emerald drop pluot. Beautiful looking pluots, as you can see here. They are green color with a drop of red or drop of orange. Absolutely gorgeous and very delicious. And then we also have the splash pluot. The splash also is another orange looking pluot. Very beautiful looking pluot, as you can see here. And very delicious too. So an important thing to do is just feel around the pluot, see if it's a little soft. And when it's a little soft, they are the juiciest and sweetest. And one good thing about pluots is that I didn't see a lot of predators attacking pluots. The birds, the June beetles, they left it alone. So you can look at the harvest here, beautiful looking pluots. And then we were back in just a few days to harvest a few more. Now between nectarines and plums and everything else that we have in our garden, I think we just love these pluots. They are amazing. They're very delicious, very easy to harvest. They stay on the tree for a longer time. And the taste is very unique. So imagine eating an apricot, but with the taste of a plum. Very juicy, very nice, very delicious, and very unique. And you can look at some more pluots that we are harvesting. And the tree has grown quite big as well. And you can see there are many more pluots on the tree, even after harvesting so many pluots. Just because the tree is quite big. And just look at this massive harvest of pluots that we did. And the tree has grown massive, as you can see. Beautiful looking tree, producing a lot of pluots. Snake gourd. The snake gourd is a very unique vegetable and it's an acquired taste. But if you love eating snake gourds, you love growing it in your garden. We are growing multiple varieties of snake gourd in our garden. You can see the dark green variety as well as the dark green with stripes and then the light green variety as well. So a lot of varieties growing in our garden. And this one is growing in a container. Snake gourds grow really well in a container. And we are harvesting a few snake gourds from our container now. And just look at our harvest here. Beautiful looking snake gourds. And if you like snake gourds, just look up some recipes and start eating them. Tomatoes. These are our big Indian tomatoes, beautiful looking tomatoes as you can see here. We are growing all our tomatoes as single stem tomatoes this year so that the plants can focus their energy on producing fruit rather than leaves. And this is our first harvest for the season, beautiful looking harvest. And this one is actually a volunteer plant that grew from the compost. This is a beefsteak style tomato that's growing here. And it did yield a lot of tomatoes as you can see. And these are also one of the first tomatoes we planted in the garden for the season. So the plant has grown pretty tall. Once again, grown as a single stem tomato and pruned very regularly. And you can look at our harvest here, beautiful looking tomatoes. And we were back in our container harvesting the big Indian tomatoes. It's an heirloom Indian tomato variety that looks pretty good. And you can harvest tomatoes when they have a slight yellow or red tinge to it and ripen them indoors, especially if you have problems with predators like rats or birds in your area. But I like to wait till the tomatoes are fully ripe on the vine. As you can see here, all these are gorgeous looking tomatoes. They are completely ripe, and at this stage they are absolutely delicious too. So unless you're planning to sell your tomatoes to someone, you want to protect each and every tomato, ripen them on the vine. They'll taste really amazing. And here are some more harvests. We are growing 2 tomato plants in one whiskey barrel container, which is about 20 inches wide and about 15 inches tall. So in that size container, you can expect to grow 2 tomato plants easily if you're growing them as a single stem. And we also have some tomatoes coming up on our raised bed. This was actually a store-bought tomato, and we planted the seeds and they're looking really good and we can't wait to harvest them. And now let's take a tour of the garden, starting with the raised beds. In our first raised bed, we have a lot of peppers, a lot of pepper varieties growing. You can see here they've started ripening now as well. So we will begin harvesting these peppers very soon. We have been taking peppers as and when we need them. But you can see many more varieties of peppers. The purple bell peppers as well here. So all in all, a lot of pepper varieties, hot peppers, regular peppers, all sorts of peppers growing on this bed. And then we have our trellis. This is the trellis for the bottle gourd between the first 2 raised beds. And you can see that there are still some bottle gourds growing. We should be able to harvest some more bottle gourds next month. And on the next raised bed, we have our eggplants. You can see these small Indian eggplants growing. They're looking pretty good. And you can either harvest them at this stage or you can let them grow bigger. We have some more bell peppers growing here. This is the California Wonder bell pepper. And then we have our tomato plant. You have been seeing this tomato plant for a while. This is a store-bought tomato. Very prolific tomato. So I'm going to save the seeds again for the next year. And they are looking quite good. A lot of more new tomatoes here on this plant. Now in the shade of the tomato plants, we planted some cilantro because cilantro loves shade. It doesn't like very hot weather. So it should grow well in the shade of this tomato plant. We have our Thai eggplants, the Thai green eggplants. They're growing now. And in the next raised bed, we have a lot of peppers and eggplants again. This is the cayenne pepper. And just look at the eggplants that are growing here as well. And just look at the onion chives here, needs a little bit of pruning here. And the shallots as well, they're looking good. Now I just quickly wanted to show you this hibiscus plant. This is growing in a pot. And it's a very unique variety, very unique color. And in the trellis, we planted some cucumbers so that they can grow on the trellis. And here is the trellis between the beds. And the snake gourds are growing as well on both sides. They're looking okay, not great. I think they could have been more prolific. But I think we just got a lot of cool days and then some really hot days in July. And you can see the cucumbers as well, the bush type cucumbers. And cucumbers have a short lifespan. They will grow for about 3 or 4 months and then they'll die. So it's better to just plant new cucumber successions. We have some okra plants that are finally now taken off due to the hotter weather. These are the taro root plants or the taro plant that we use for taro root. And some more eggplants here. This is the fairy tale eggplant. And this was supposed to be the fairy tale eggplant, but I think we got a different variety here. But still a good looking eggplant. And in the final raised bed, we have a lot of these asparagus beans. Now these were supposed to be bush type asparagus beans, but the plant has grown quite large. And I'm beginning to see some vines as well. And you can see this cucumber patch, a lot of cucumbers here. We are letting some of these go to seed. And this is actually the ash gourd. It just grew into the cucumber area. And a lot of cucumber plants here. We harvested a lot of cucumbers. And then we have the ivy gourd plant on the back. And you can see a couple more ash gourds growing here. And this is a huge ash gourd that's in the making. And the ivy gourd plant again at the back. It's producing a lot of ivy gourds now. And some of the cucumbers are being kept for seed. And that concludes the tour of our raised beds. Let's move on to the containers on one side. We have our 4-in-1 apple tree with these gorgeous flowers growing around it. We harvested a lot of apples from this tree this month. Followed by our firecracker plant that's now looking good in the summer season, producing flowers. We have our celebration tomato plant that's now producing some tomatoes. Followed by this cayenne pepper plant. There was a tomato hornworm on this plant and you can see the damage that it has caused in just one day. We have another eggplant variety here. This is the long purple eggplant. Early eggplant variety. Looking pretty good. Followed by Thai peppers. These are the hot Thai dragon peppers. These are the Santaka chili peppers. Once again, a hot chili pepper variety. It's pretty loaded with chilies. And this is the cayenne pepper. It's quite a prolific plant here. Followed by our holy basil plant. That's looking good. And this is the black cobra pepper. This is another hot pepper variety. Extremely hot peppers. We love eating these peppers as well. This is our fig tree, the mission fig tree. It has been quite a prolific tree, producing lots of figs. And this is in a container. And we planted a couple of watermelon plants here next to it. And finally, this is our sweet basil plant. And let's take a look at the containers on the other side. We have our longevity spinach plant that has now grown really big and it's time for us to harvest some. Our hyacinth bean plant, this is the vining type hyacinth bean plant. You saw us harvest a lot of hyacinth beans from this plant and you can see a lot more growing on the plant right now. These are the pepper plants, the cayenne pepper as well as the bell pepper. You saw us harvest a lot of these bell peppers in the harvest section. Followed by our big Indian tomatoes. Still a lot of tomatoes on the plant. followed by our bird plus cucumber. And even after the harvest, there are a lot of cucumbers still growing, followed by our Indian type eggplant that's growing quite well. And this is our snake gourd plant that's growing on the trellis in the container, followed by a couple of the big Indian tomatoes again, looking pretty good, still producing tomatoes. And this is the Flora Dale tomato. This is a determinate type tomato. I'm not very happy with the way it produced. It's okay, but we'll taste these tomatoes soon and find out how it's like. Our Egyptian walking onions are completely ready for harvest. I think it's time to harvest these onions now. They've become quite big. This is the size they grow to, so they're not huge, but these are as big as they get. And this is our white Carolina strawberry. You can see it's completely taken over not only on the ground, but also on all the containers on the side. I've never seen a strawberry plant grow so prolific, but I think I'm going to have a lot of strawberries very soon. This is the turmeric plant and it has produced a flower. It's a gorgeous looking flower, followed by our black beauty eggplant. And you can see these kind of droppings. These are caterpillar droppings. So if you see something like this, just make sure you check your leaves. Sometimes the birds will come and eat those caterpillars, but sometimes they will be right there and you won't be able to see it. But if you do see droppings like this, make sure that you check your plant. It could be a tomato hornworm or other caterpillars that can eat up your plant very quickly. Moving on to the next plant, we have our Puneri cucumber or the Puna khira. Once again, it's become a big plant. And here we kept a couple of cucumbers to go to seed. We just love this cucumber variety. We want to save fresh seeds from this plant for the next season. And right next to that, we have our potatoes. These were planted from potatoes in the pantry. It's become a huge plant. You can see a lot of these blooms as well, which is a good indicator of the quality of potatoes being produced. And then we have our ivy gourd plant. This is the small type ivy gourd. It's producing ivy gourds right now, as you can see. And this is our mint plant. This is the sweet mint plant, followed by our volunteer tomato plant. And look at this one. This is completely ripe, ready for harvest. And we just sowed some cucumber seeds here. It's been quite hot, so we'll see if they can germinate quickly. And this is a Roma tomato. It's a bush style tomato. You can see that it's quite crowded. There's not much airflow here. And this is a good example of a tomato plant that should be pruned. Prune the leaves and some stems to create some airflow. And we have our cauliflower plant next to it. Not doing that well due to the heat of the summer season. Cauliflowers are cool season crops. They don't grow that well in summers. These are our potato onions. These are the bunching type onions. And we will be harvesting them soon. They're producing flowers, so we can see if we can harvest some seeds. We then have our shallots that are almost ready for harvest. And then here we have one okra plant. This is the large okra plant, an organic okra plant. And we also planted some sweet potato slips here so that we can harvest some sweet potatoes while the okra plant is growing. We have our taro plant looking pretty big now, as you can see. And right next to that, we have our giant Marconi pepper plant. You can see some more peppers being developed now after harvesting a huge amount of peppers from this plant. Let's now quickly take a look at the green stalk planters. In our green stalk leaf planter, we planted a lot of beans. These are bush beans. And we planted a lot of them. And since they are on a spinner, you can actually turn them around See how beautiful this tower looks like. And in the Greenstock Classic planter, we planted a lot of tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, cauliflower, a lot of plants here. And they're all doing really well. And we will be setting up the automated watering system for these Greenstock planters soon. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a very interesting episode. And now let's look at some things for you to do. Pruning is a very important to-do item for the summer season. So it's important to remove all these dead leaves. As you can see here, we are doing this from our bottle gourd plant. We're removing all the dead leaves and the brown leaves. This prevents diseases like powdery mildew from spreading across your plants. We will do the same thing on the other side as well. And this is especially important for tomatoes. Just make sure that you remove all the yellowing leaves, the dry leaves, leaves that are curling. These are all indicators of plant diseases that eventually set in as the plant grows. And since I don't spray my plants at all, I try to see if I can do some preventative measures for disease management and pest management. And once you've pruned the tomatoes, you can see that there's much more airflow now. The tomatoes are looking good. You may want to keep just a few leaves if they're green, but overall you should be heavily pruning your tomato plants. And while inspecting your plants, if you see leaves that have holes in them, just look around, you will see caterpillars, worms chewing away on the leaves. And if you see that, just discard them. And finally, a quick update on our jasmine plant that we repotted. You can see how beautifully it has grown back in this container. So if you have plants that need repotting, this is a great time to do it. Repot all your plants in the summer season. This is the growing season and the plant will grow back very quickly. And now let's look at some gardening products. In today's episode, we will look at the letpot hydroponics growing system. This is a smart 12-pod herb garden kit. This is an indoor garden system that you can set up anywhere in your home. And this product was sent to me by the company, but these are my honest reviews on how the product is and what are the pros and cons of using this product. So let's open up this product. It comes in a very simple packaging. This is the main hydroponics growing system. And it's similar to all the hydroponic systems where you have a water tank at the bottom. And then you have the manuals. And you open up the unit by sliding up the light stand as you see here. And at the bottom you have this tray that comes off. You can see all these holes where the actual baskets will go, the growing baskets. And then there is a level indicator as well. Let's look at what else is inside the box. These are the growing baskets. They are pretty good quality, very sturdy. There are some plant labels and sticks included, which was a helpful thing. These are the nutrient solutions. Now I was happy to see that the nutrient solution was included. It's a typical nutrient A and nutrient B solution. This is the power adapter for the unit. These are some plugs that go into the growing baskets. They basically get moisture from the solution underneath and help the plants grow in the basket. This is the pump connector to the main unit. So this is how it looks like. This is the main water pump that sits inside the unit. And these are all the accessories, the growing baskets, the pods, the nutrient solution, and the power adapter. Overall, a very good looking product, very well built. And on the top, you can see the letpot logo and a couple of buttons for switching across power settings. And then you have your nutrient solution, the type A and type B. You shake it well before using. Add in 1 liter of water that we have taken here. And we will add 15 ml of both these solutions to it. And then you pour it inside the chamber where the pump is present, which will circulate the water. We are adding 2 liters of water to start with. And the next step is to set up the baskets. As you can see here, put 1 growing pod inside each basket and put it on the unit. And you can see that the pods will start becoming wet with the solution. And then you plug in the pump connector as well as the power adapter at the back. and plug in your unit and get started. When you turn on the unit, you can see that it has bright LED lights on the top, and it switches between growing flowers and veggies and herbs. There are different spectrums of light as you can see here. Subtle differences. Now we are sowing some seeds here. The recommended way to sow is to soak some seeds and then sow it directly in the pod that's there in each basket. And we are sowing some cilantro seeds here. Now remember that your germination rate will depend on how viable your seeds are. And I wasn't sure about these cilantro seeds because they were lying in my seed box for quite a long time. You then close each of these pods with the provided humidity dome, which creates humidity and encourages seed germination. As soon as the seedlings emerge, you need to take the humidity domes out. And in just a few days, you can see that the plants have grown quite big. The germination rate wasn't great for my cilantro plants. However, you can see that the plants have germinated and are growing quite well. And this is a very neat solution to growing plants indoors in your home. And I replaced some of these seeds with some new seeds, and you can see that they have now germinated. And they will be growing alongside these plants, which is a good thing because I will be staggering the growth across a few weeks. This is a place where you put the water, and you can see an indicator that shows you whether you have enough water in the system. So all in all, this is a very well built system. I'll provide links to this product in the video description and comments below. And I think it's a great addition to adding onto your garden, growing indoors in a very compact space. And there we have it. If you liked this video, do give us a big thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments box below. We'll see you again soon. Happy gardening.